We already know the five senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, smell. But those only help you survive. What most people don't realize is that you also have six higher faculties. These aren't physical senses, they're mental ones: imagination, intuition, memory, reason, perception, and will. And here's the kicker: confidence isn't about faking it, it's about learning to use these six superpowers. Let's start with the one that quietly controls everything. Chapter 1: Perception. Perception is the lens you see life through. The catch is, perception isn't reality, it's interpretation. Two people can face the same event and come away with completely different stories. One sees rejection, the other sees redirection. One sees failure, the other sees feedback. The event itself doesn't change, the lens does. Wayne Dyer once said, "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." Psychology backs this up too. Cognitive behavioral therapy is built on teaching people to question the meaning they attach to experiences. And it's not the situation that breaks your confidence, it's the story you tell yourself about it. Think about walking into a room. If your perception is, "everyone's judging me," your body shrinks. You avoid eye contact, stick to the edges, but if your perception is, "people are curious about me," your posture opens up. You breathe easier. Others notice that energy and respond to it. The same room, the same people, only the lens changes. The tricky part is that most of us don't even realize we're wearing a filter. Maybe your lens was shaped years ago by a parent calling you shy, by a teacher saying you weren't good enough, or by an old failure that still echoes. The lens stays on, distorting everything you see. No wonder confidence feels unstable. You're trying to move through life with smudged glasses. The good news? Lenses can be changed. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing a perspective that serves you instead of sabotages you. Real confidence isn't about erasing insecurity. It's about refusing to let insecurity dictate the story you live by. Next time you feel small, pause and ask yourself, is this reality, or is this just my lens? Most of the time, it's the lens. Shift it, even slightly, and watch how differently you carry yourself. You'll start noticing opportunities you used to overlook, and people will start noticing you in a way they never did before. Chapter 2: Imagination. Imagination is one of the most underrated powers you have. People treat it like child's play, useful only for daydreaming or sketching superheroes in the margins of a notebook. But look around. Everything you see was born from imagination. The chair you're sitting on, the phone in your hand, the buildings in your city, all of it existed in someone's mind before it ever became real. Einstein famously said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Knowledge is about what already exists. Imagination is about creating what doesn't exist yet. And that's what confident people do. They don't just see themselves as they are, they use imagination to picture who they could become, and that vision pulls them forward. The problem is, most of us use imagination against ourselves. Instead of picturing success, we rehearse every way things could go wrong. That's worry. Psychologists call it negative imagination repeated on loop. No wonder confidence feels fragile. If you've already imagined yourself failing before you start, your body follows the script. But when you flip it, imagination becomes practice. Athletes have known this for decades. Michael Phelps visualized every stroke of his races before he swam them. By the time he hit the pool, his body already knew what to do. You can use the same approach. Imagine yourself walking into a meeting steady, speaking without your voice shaking, or asking that question with ease. It's not pretending, it's rehearsal. And yes, sometimes imagination will overshoot reality. You'll picture yourself crushing it, and maybe in real life you stumble. That's fine. The point isn't perfection, it's giving your brain a new reference point. When you imagine a confident version of yourself, even if you fall short, you still end up closer to that vision than if you'd only rehearsed disaster. So before your next big moment, don't rehearse failure. Try rehearsing calm instead. Spend 5 minutes imagining yourself walking tall, speaking clearly, or just breathing steadily. It's a small shift, but it primes your mind to follow through. And when your imagination works for you instead of against you, confidence doesn't feel forced. It starts to feel natural. Chapter 3. Memory. Memory is more than recall. It's not just remembering phone numbers or birthdays. Memory is the library your confidence pulls from. When you walk into a situation, your brain flips through the shelves of past experiences and says, okay, what do we know about this? That decision, what memory it pulls forward, can make or break your confidence in the moment. Here's the problem. Most of us have trained our memory to hold on to failures more tightly than wins. You can succeed 10 times, stumble once, and guess which one your brain replays on loop? The stumble. Neuroscience shows this too. The brain has a negativity bias, which means we naturally remember negative events more vividly. Confidence gets crushed under the weight of those old, unhelpful memories. But memory can be reshaped. Instead of letting it serve as a filing cabinet of mistakes, you can turn it into a highlight reel of your progress. Think about athletes. They review game tapes, not just to spot errors, but to reinforce what worked. You can do the same with your own life. Start recalling the times you spoke up and were heard, the risks you took that paid off, the small wins that proved you were capable. One practical exercise. Write down 3 wins from your past week, no matter how small. Did you send the email you were dreading? Did you finish a workout? Did you actually rest when you said you would? These small wins matter. When you store them intentionally, you create a library your future self can pull confidence from. Maya Angelou once said, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." Memory works the same way. You can't erase the times you failed, but you can decide not to let them shrink you. Instead, you build a habit of recalling the times you rose. That shift strengthens confidence in the present. So next time your brain drags up an old embarrassment or mistake, don't just swallow it. Stop and add balance. Remind yourself of a win that proves the opposite. Over time, you retrain your memory to become less of a critic and more of a coach. And when your memory works with you, not against you, confidence doesn't feel forced, it feels earned. Chapter 4. Reason. Reason is your ability to think, question, and connect ideas. It's the part of your mind that doesn't just accept what's handed to it, but asks, does this actually make sense? When it comes to confidence, reason is the tool that helps you challenge the stories your brain tells you. Without reason, you end up delivering every thought that pops into your head. And let's be honest, our thoughts can be dramatic. Mess up once, and your brain screams, "You always fail." Get nervous in one conversation, and it insists you're socially awkward. Reason steps in like a lawyer, cross-examining those claims. It forces you to look at the evidence. Here's a fact. Most negative self-talk doesn't hold up under scrutiny. If you ask, "Do I always fail?" the answer is no. You've succeeded before. If you ask, "Am I truly awkward?" again, no. You've had good conversations, even if some were clumsy. Reason dismantles exaggeration and replaces it with perspective. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Reason is what allows that reaction to be thoughtful instead of automatic. It gives you space between stimulus and response, which is where confidence grows. You're not just reacting anymore, you're choosing. You can train reason the same way you train a muscle. Start by writing down a negative belief and then listing 3 pieces of evidence against it. Example, "I'm terrible at speaking up." Counter it with 3 times you spoke clearly, even if they were small moments. This practice rewires your brain to stop taking every negative thought at face value. Confidence doesn't come from silencing self-doubt completely. It comes from reasoning with it. Instead of being ruled by the loudest thought, you weigh it, question it, and decide what's actually true. When reason is active, you stop being trapped by old scripts and start writing new ones. Chapter 5. Intuition. Intuition is that gut feeling you get before logic has time to kick in. It's the quiet nudge that says, "This isn't right," or that spark that says, "Go for it." We all have it, but most of us are so busy second guessing ourselves that we tune it out. Oprah Winfrey once said she credits much of her success to listening to her intuition, and she's not alone. Studies from the University of Iowa found that our bodies often sense a bad decision before our brain catches up. That quickened heartbeat or subtle tension is your system flagging something important. The problem is, intuition doesn't shout, it whispers. Fear shouts, doubt shouts, overthinking shouts. Intuition is quieter. It shows up as a pull, a subtle knowing, a calm clarity. That's why confident people don't always have the loudest voices in the room. They've learned to pause long enough to hear what their gut is actually saying. Think about the times you didn't listen to your gut. You had a bad feeling about a situation but ignored it, only to regret it later. Or the opposite. You took a chance on something that didn't make sense on paper but felt right, and it led somewhere amazing. Confidence grows every time you honor that inner compass. You can strengthen intuition by paying attention to it in small decisions. Next time you're choosing between two options, like what project to start or even who to spend time with, pause and notice your first internal reaction. Not the overthinking that comes after, but the gut's first response. That's intuition speaking. Intuition won't make life perfect, and it won't erase risk, but it will make you more grounded in your choices. Instead of needing everyone else's approval, you begin to trust yourself, and that's what confidence really is. Not certainty, but self-trust. The more you honor intuition, the more that trust grows. Chapter 6. Will. Will is your ability to focus your mind. Not willpower in the cliche sense of just grinding harder, but the power to direct your attention where you want it to go. And keep it there. In a world full of distractions, that's a superpower. Think about it. Your confidence depends on what you repeatedly give attention to. If you keep focusing on mistakes, you'll feel insecure. If you keep focusing on progress, you'll feel capable. The faculty of will is what lets you hold that focus long enough for it to shape your reality. Psychologists call this selective attention. Your brain can't process everything at once, so will is what decides what gets priority. Successful people train it deliberately. Athletes, musicians, entrepreneurs, they all know how to block out the noise and zero in on what matters. That's not an accident. It's a muscle. Here's an example. Set a timer for 5 minutes and practice focusing on one task without checking your phone or switching tabs. It sounds simple, but it's training your will like lifting weights. 5 minutes becomes 10, then 30. Over time, you build the ability to stay present, even when distractions try to pull you away. William James, the father of modern psychology, said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." That's will in action. Confidence isn't about never feeling nervous. It's about choosing not to dwell on the thought that says, "I can't." Will is what keeps your attention steady on the thought that says, "I'll try." So try this. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into self-doubt, redirect your focus. Not by pretending the doubt isn't there, but by giving more weight to the thought that pushes you forward. Will doesn't eliminate doubt. It teaches you not to feed it. And once you stop feeding it, confidence has space to grow. When you step back, these 6 faculties aren't about becoming perfect or suddenly fearless. They're about realizing you've always had more to work with than 5 senses that got drilled into you at school. They're the mental tools that let you shape your life instead of just reacting to it. Some days, you'll use them well. Other days, you'll forget they exist and slip back into old habits. That's normal. Nobody nails perception or memory or will every single time. It's messy. And that's the point. Because life is messy. And you're not supposed to get it right all the time. What matters is noticing that you can choose. You can shift your perception, reframe a memory, focus your will. You can lean into imagination or trust intuition when logic has no answers. Those small shifts don't make you superhuman, but they do make you more grounded, more steady, and yes, more confident at times too. So don't chase flawless. Let it be a little uneven, a little unfinished, a little ish, because that's still enough to change how you show up, and over time, how you shape your whole life. Not perfect, just real. And real has always been more powerful anyway.